Hi there, everyone. My name's Alejandra here with POV Magazine, and today we're sitting down with Raquel Sancinetti for her short film Madeleine. I was just wondering, how did you come to know Madeleine?
Hi. I met Madeleine on an aquafit class in a senior home, but I was looking for someone because I wanted to make a documentary. So, long story short, it was a friend who introduced me to Madeleine, and my friend used to give her aquafit classes at her senior home.
That's very sweet. Aquafit. I've never tried it, but it sounds very fun and very, I guess, good for your physical activity. Kind of going off of that, so like what sparked the idea, I guess, of creating a film with Madeleine? Is it because that you met her through Aquafit?
No, I had idea of making a film with a senior protagonist before meeting Madeleine. I wanted to have a senior protagonist. It was supposed, before it was a very different idea. It was more about aging, but in a very broad spectrum. I didn't know exactly how I would approach it. I was researching how I would tell this, but I knew from the start I wanted to work with senior women. So I was trying to get to know some seniors, and it was not very easy. But it was really the idea of showing like how it is aging, like for women. And once I met Madeleine, it became more and more clear that the film was going to be about her because we bonded so deeply and so fast that at the end I didn't go look for anybody else. At the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna talk to various women and see like how I'm gonna approach that. But once I met Madeleine, I was just not looking for anybody else. We were just talking, and then everything turned into a much more personal story because I was not expecting this to happen.
That's really sweet that you ended up bonding with her. So, I guess in that sense, was she, I guess, interested in creating this film and sharing the story with you?
Yeah, well, when I think back, I think she was more interested on me going to see her often, but that's not only, I think she was a very curious woman and she wanted to know everything. She wanted to try different things, even though she was very old, she was always trying to learn different things. And she was very interested, like, what is this making film? How does that work? And she was very curious about all that. And she said, "It doesn't matter if I don't like. I just let you go. It's not my job." So she was very open-hearted. She was very easy about everything, but she was definitely interested in how it works, and she was very involved into the creation process.
Yeah, and even like through the short, I even kind of noticed now that you mentioned that she wants to learn all the time. She's playing around with the camera and interacting with it and asking you, how do I work this and how do I click the button? And it's very sweet, very wholesome. Like throughout the film, you said had mentioned briefly in the beginning that it was throughout 5 years. A personal question that I guess kind of had was like, how many times did you ask her to go to the beach? Because it seems like it was many times, but maybe it was once.
Oh no, it was not once. It was many times. I don't know how many times, probably over 100 for sure. Sometimes I would say, let's go to the beach. Sometimes I would say, let's go out, or let's go walk on the mountain. Let's just go out. And every time she would give, sometimes she would not answer at all. She'd just give me a look because she was just fed up that I would ask that all the time. And she would vary her answer in like very funny ways. And sometimes when she was really out of it, she was just like, okay, stop it, right? But I don't know, I would say, I don't know, somewhere between 100 and 200
Wow.
times.
So she sounds definitely like a homebody, I guess, in that sense, or she doesn't want to get out as much.
Yeah, well, she stopped going out when she was 100, and she's a very stubborn woman, and she was just like, once she decides something, she was with it. Like, there was no way to make her change her mind because she had her argument. She said, I want to keep my energy to stay home and do things that I like. But what am I gonna do outside? I have seen many things. And what interests me now is to read, to do tricot, and I don't want to go out. She was just she was not interested, and she was keeping busy and having fun at home. So she said, since she was 100, I met her, she was 102. And since she was 100, she decided she wouldn't go out anymore to keep her energy. And
Well,
she probably knew better than me because I'm not that old. I couldn't have known that. And she said that you can't understand, not because you're not intelligent, you're just not old enough to understand.
understandable. Understand.
Yeah, she had her point.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, I guess, like stemming off of that question. How much footage did you end up collecting over 5 years?
I never really counted, but it was about once or twice a week, between 1 and 3 hours footage for 5 years. I don't know, probably, I don't know, 400, 500 hours of footage. I never put them together in a timeline because I don't think it's possible. I would edit them out separately. But yeah, there was a lot, probably over 500 hours.
That's a lot of footage. I must have taken like, I guess you were editing as you went, which would save you so much more time in the post-production process. But
Yeah, I didn't edit as, I mean, after 1 year and a half, I started editing, and but yeah, that was a very long process. I think it was the longest process of the film because I was editing and writing at the same time, according to what I was deciding to keep or not. But yeah, that was like a 2 years process. The editing, choosing, like letting go things that I really wanted to keep because I mean I couldn't have everything from over 500 hours to keep about 5 minutes of dialogue. It was very hard to choose.
I bet it was, but I think you did a great job putting in those clips just to really show her personality and your interaction with her. Where did the idea of using stop motion animation come from?
I am an animator, so I wanted to include, but I didn't really know how. But once I realized she wouldn't leave the house, I was sure that's what I was gonna do because that was the only way I could take her out of the house. It was through the stop motion. So it came a little bit from the limitation that I had of never being able to take her out with me and making some footage outside.
That's very smart. I never would have thought of that, but you know what? I guess that really does help you convey that story too, since she was always inside. So I think you did an amazing job with that. Kind of with like the animation style, was the playfulness of the animation style based on Madeleine's personality?
Yes, it was a lot influenced by her. Well, she chose many things. She really wanted flowers. Like a lot of, I wanted to be bright and colorful and light because I think that reflects who she is, and that's how she wanted the film to be. Too many times she said, I don't want anything gloomy or dark because there is already enough tragedy in the world. Let's just make people happy, right? She didn't want to go there. So I think, yeah, it does reflect a lot of her personality. And the wool, I was thinking of including some tricot in the film, like some knitting, but at the end it was just like it didn't work. It was just too complicated to make the puppet knit, and I was just like, okay, like go. But it came from her knitting habits, the idea of using wool because she knitted all day long, like many hours.
I guess because stop motion animation, I had done some of it previously in my school, and it's very difficult. It's a long process. Could you kind of like talk us through like a quick like little summary of like a day in the life of animating when you're with the team?
Yeah, sure. I didn't animate the film myself entirely. I animated a few scenes, and other animators animated other scenes. It's a lot of fixing stuff. Like after building everything, in the building process is just like you have to build puppets, build the sets, and then dress the set, put the lights, which was not me. There was a photographer who did that, and then set up the light. And then you realize, oh, those colors don't work. Like usually have a prep prod where you know that, but in my case it was low budget and we didn't do this. So we set up everything and like, oh my God, we can see anything with these colors, and then we have to like repaint or redo things. For the animators, they would come, they check the reference footage. Me, myself, and I guess most animators would do also reference footage of walking and how the puppets are gonna move. You set up the puppets, you see the spaces where the puppet's gonna walk or sit, and then you thread drill everything to tie down the puppets, and then you just animate for a very long time, hoping there will be no major mistake. You want the light or the camera, because then you have to start over. Yeah, they're very long days, and it's very like physical, like standing up all the time and not like sometimes it's hard to reach the puppet, but it's a very fun process. I really like. Um, I like more building than animating, because animating it's more like, okay, now I really can mess up anything. But for me, because I did the puppets, I was always fixing a lot of a lot of things, but mainly the puppets. Like it's impossible that you go from one shot to another without having to touch up the puppet. And sometimes the puppets need to sit, but they have too much belly and they can sit, and then cut the belly, put the belly back for the next shot, this kind of thing.
Yeah. It's very tedious, but also very rewarding at the same time when you get to see the final product, I guess. Which of your all the like little tiny teeny props that you made or that your animators made that were your favorite? I'd have to say mine was the little baby band-aid was my favorite little prop that you guys did.
Yeah, that was very cute. Yeah, that was very nice. I really like the suitcase. That was a very nice prop that I like. I also like the goggles that my puppet wears. I like the car, but the car is very big. It's not a tiny prop.
Other than Madeline's humor, wisdom, and I guess story, is there anything else that she contributed creatively to the film?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of the film, it's her ideas. Like how we would do once I decided, okay, I'm gonna do animation, then we go to the beach, but I want to use like our conversations. So I was discussing what would happen on this trip with her. And then like there would be a lot of back and forth. I would write some things she was just like, I know I don't like that. Can we take it out? I would take it out, and then she would suggest things like the band-aid was her idea. I was like, okay, what would you bring? Like if we would go, and she's like, oh, I guess a first aid box, at least one band-aid. And she was like, okay, you want to bring one band-aid? She said, yeah, sure. I said, okay. The camel was her idea. Like when I said, oh, we're gonna be in the desert and the car is broken, and she said, oh, we're gonna get out of like with the camel. Because I don't know, all this kind of things came from her. And yeah, she was very involved. She would read the script and comment on it. Usually she would start from the end, like from the end of the script. I was just like, why are you doing this? You want to know if you died? And she said, of course I do. She was very funny. And yeah, so she was very involved creatively, like in the creation of the film. Even the puppets, she would see them, and her puppet, she would say, oh no, it's too much belly, it's too much ass, can you take out here? Until like at some point, there was like she refused her puppet 3 times, and then at some point she said, oh, now it's good. I said, okay, good.
Oh, that's so cute that she like little piece of her too that she also was able to say, "Oh, I don't like this," or "Oh, I love that," and it was made into the film. I think that's really sweet. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And all the parts that I include in the film, I wanted to have her consent. I wanted to like know that she agrees with what was going in. And yeah, it was very collaborative.
that's very good. That she was all a part of it. It's just a nice story for her to have, as she's older. Did she watch the film? Did she get to watch the final product?
No, she saw like the film half fully animated. It was half animatic and half animation. And even at the very like after the pandemic, like in 2021, she was already like it was hard on her because she was very isolated, like many singles, and her health didn't decline altogether, but her eyes were like very diminished. She couldn't see like the center of the image, only the the sides. And so she couldn't see like all that much, but she tried really hard, and I would bring my computer to show her, and she said, "Oh, I can't see, but it moves so well." So she could see parts of it, but I can't say that she saw the whole thing together. But I can say that she imagined the whole thing together.
Oh, well,
So
I think that was probably one of the best things that she saw, when she was older, even though she couldn't really see, I guess, right? Because it's part of her story, but also yours together. It's a sweet little story in that sense.
yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, she passed away 4 months before the film was completely finished. And, I was thinking it would never happen, like she was saying all the time, like, I'm never gonna die. I said, oh, maybe that's true.
she's still with us. She's still here.
Oh, absolutely, I'm sure she is.
Yeah. Kind of gonna wrap up this interview for us. So I have just two more quick questions for you. What was your favorite thing about your short?
I think overall, certainly is Madeleine herself, my favorite thing, but I think technically, I think the transitions between stop motion and live action, because that was so difficult and it was so hard. I had to try so much, and like it was not easy to do, and it was not obvious how I was gonna do. So I also had to think when I was writing, when I was gonna do those transitions and how. So I think technically that's the part that I'm very happy about, because at some points me and other people who were giving me feedback were like, oh, that's never gonna work. But I was just like, no, I have to make it work because it's a big part of the idea of this film.
That's awesome. And it was a whole process, I guess, for you too, because it was a whole learning curve. And I think it's great that you were able to overcome that, and it clearly was succeeded in the end product. So I think you did an amazing job with that. And the final question that I have for you is, what is one message Madeline said to you that you bring into your everyday life?
Never give up. That's for sure. Like there are many, like, but that's the one that kept me going through the film when I had no more energy. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was very hard. It was a tough process. And even now today, when I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, no, I have to finish. I have to do it. So yeah, never give up. It's a big one.
Yeah, it's a strong message, that's for sure. And not just for yourself, but for the people watching, it's a beautiful thing to carry with them every day. Thank you so much, Raquel, for speaking with me today in POV Magazine. It was such a pleasure to get to know more about you and your film, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview. I'm very happy to have spoken to you.
Thank you.